I'm Laura Richardson with Relevate. We are Real Estate Elevated, and we're bringing you another edition of I'm Moving to North Carolina, Now What? Today, we're going to be talking about land surveying. This is a complex topic, so of course, I brought in our local expert, Jason Scalice, and he's going to tell you a little bit of backstory of how he got into this interesting industry and how he can actually help you in your home buying or even home selling process. Jason, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thanks. I'm super stoked, Laura.
So tell us a little bit about you and how you got into this interesting niche of an industry.
Sure. So growing up, my grandfather was he was the man around town. He was the local land surveyor, and he was very well known throughout the town and with all the county offices. So I always wanted to, I looked up to that. I wanted to be that guy, So I growing up as a teenager, going out with him and just holding the end of the tape and listening to his stories, and it's just really interesting. So me, my older brother, I have a few uncles and cousins, and that's just kind of what happened to us. He was the what do you call it? Not the pioneer, but I guess the front runner. The begins with the P. The word.
Oh goodness!
It won't come to me.
Pioneer was a great way
Pioneer
to
was
say
good.
it.
In the car, I had it in my head. I was ready to go.
No, but definitely on kind of the frontier, the front edge of doing that in the industry. All right.
So about 21 years ago, I put my boots on, feet to the ground, and started to go. And then about in 2013, my brother got licensed, and he's like, "Hey, listen, I want to get my own company. I'm done working for people." And 2 months in, he's like, "Jay, listen, I want you to come on. Work's getting busy." Yeah. And then that was it. So he has a picture of it, the garage where we started off. Harley Davidson started in the garage, and I believe it was Microsoft or Apple in the garage. So it's kind of like funny. And now we're we have 3 offices in 3 different states.
I love it.
And a lot of crews. So it really picked up momentum, and here we are today.
Well, so you're bringing up an interesting story talking about the different states. So North Carolina is what we like to call a fickle beast. We do a lot of things very differently here. And I know something that you've really advocated for clients on is the fact that North Carolina doesn't require you to even do a survey. So guys, remember, a survey is real-time data. This is not like a plat map or the intention behind what the builder or the developer was hoping everything would kind of land on. Survey is going to show you where things are in real time, which can be important because we'll talk about later some of the big scary things you can find out after you've already gone under contract. So what is the benefit of doing a survey? Why should somebody not forego that step?
Okay, so, everyone's excited. They want to buy, their first house or their forever home. And they have all these ideas planned for what they're going to do after the fact. So you don't want to purchase a house and, you forgo the survey because it's not needed and because of price. And, you have to remember a survey is 0.0001% of this, hundreds of thousands of dollars property just purchased, So, someone wants to put a pool in, say, and, they're real excited. The property's perfect. And, they purchase the house, and a year into it, they're like, let's get our permits or whatever they need. And they find out that there's a creek that runs through the backyard. You can't build within 50 feet of a creek. Or you have a natural preserve you can't build up against. And if you would have had a survey, you would have known that, where you could have either halted your plans prior to the close-in, or you could have at least had another idea moving in, like this is what we'll do. We'll pivot, do something else. A big thing homeowners don't understand is that the fence is not the property line. Yeah. And I get that every day. Yes, the fence is there. It could be a nice new fence, an old fence. Doesn't mean it's the property line. So people, I say this story, I believe the first day I met you, I told you the story how, say your neighbor's having a party and the fence is 5 feet onto your land. You have no clue. A fight breaks out or kids are playing, someone breaks their leg against the fence. That's your homeowner's insurance. That fence is on your property. You would have known this prior to buying the house. You could have had it all straightened out, move the fence over. So it's just a lot of things. If you're going to get a home inspection prior to buying the house, why not get a brand new land survey? They're cheap enough, and it's insurance for the property. Peace of mind. It's just it's something that it's not gonna it's not an arm and a leg cost. It's just it's something that I think everyone should be educated. And I know that you are very educated, and you let all your clients know prior. Do this, do that. There's issues with the land, and it's just I'm here today just really to inform people.
Well, and so it brings up a valid point too that it's not just your property you need to be aware of stuff going
Yeah.
on, but also when your neighbors are installing things. And so typically, guys, when you have something from a neighboring property that's falling on the opposing property, it's called an encroachment. It basically means that there's something that's kind of creeping over the line, and sometimes it could be mere inches, and in some cases it could be feet of property. And over the course of time, people might just assume it's supposed to be there. And so it's really important that you're, again, getting real-time data and studying that to make sure if your neighbors, let's say, for example, are putting in a French drain, but it's going to cross into your side, and then all of a sudden something gets backed up in that and it floods the area, well, then you're responsible for the damage. So it's really important that if you see stuff going on around you, on your immediate neighbors or even behind you, that you do take a look at their survey if you have the opportunity to as well. So surveys. What's the weirdest thing that you guys have ever seen pop up on a survey or something that was an encroachment?
Well, the biggest issue, not so much in North Carolina, but it does happen, where they have, and actually I can say North Carolina because there's a lot of open land, a lot of things going on where it's kind of like a free-for-all. But people build pools and patios, and these are thousands and thousands upon dollars.
Yeah.
And now you do a survey and you find out that, oh my God, a 50 by 50 portion of my land is being occupied by this guy's, paradise that he built, and, you either have to, listen, we got to figure something out. I guess you can sign over an agreement saying, I understand this is happening, or you can be like, listen, no way, this has to take this out, gone. Because clearly this guy didn't have a survey done, hence why the pool is over the line. And, I guess he had enough money where he didn't care, spend all that money and just throw a pool up anywhere. But that's one of the biggest things. And, can you just imagine me, hey, here's my survey, middle of your pool runs right through my property. And, that's one of the wildest things because I can just picture how much money it costs to move something like that.
Oh, absolutely. And I do think that sometimes people think, because we've seen this with like carports, for example, or even driveways or things that have been kind of used pretty regularly over the course of time. And so there is this assumption, if you're the buyer, and let's say it's the neighbor's property that comes onto this new property that you're buying, there's this assumption that there's nothing you can do about it. And that if it's been in use for so long that it's met the 10 or 20-year requirement, depending on what it is. And that's actually not true. There's a lot of different steps you have to jump through in order to prove that it was a willing kind of pass off.
That's a gray area.
Yes.
You have to really find a judge or attorney that's going to say, yeah, you're losing that. There's no. It's
oh, yeah.
And people that's the best thing. People eminent domain. What does that mean? Do you know what that means? You don't even have a survey. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, actually, you were talking about carports and driveways. We actually last year in North Carolina, there was 2 feet of a house built just over the line. And
which that's a good example because I hear this with new construction often. They rely on the builder who's done the initial plat map probably and filed that, but maybe doesn't do a survey at the end line. I've seen that a ton where there's this assumption that somebody was checking everything at the end and it doesn't happen.
And a home builder, he isn't a surveyor. And a lot of these new homes, they're actually putting fences up now, all ready to go. And you have to remember, he's following maybe the plan of a surveyor when they developed this, 50-acre plot into lot lines and to new properties. But until you really, you should always have, at least the corners were covered and flagged up before you put a fence up or anything like that.
Yeah.
So remember, unless you get that map showing you, don't assume that the man before you was right.
Yeah, so something else that we kind of wanted to talk about, speaking of land, is we see this a lot where there's a listing that's being marketed, right? And it's one of many addresses on one parcel. So can you talk to me a little bit about subdividing and how that survey process probably should work?
Yes. So a big thing is that you have a family that's owned 100 acres of land for the last 100 years. And, they do a lot of, hey, Uncle Tom, you can build a house over here. And, my 2 sons built 2 houses back there. Like, in reality, these can't be sold off as houses now to people. It's still the one lot. Until that is subdivided into different lots and recorded, it never happened. Handshake deals don't count as this is what it is. Recorded actual data in the county or town offices is what everything is based off of.
Yeah.
We were speaking earlier how a big scam now people are doing is they're posting up land that isn't theirs or land that they claim they can sell, and until you get to the closing table,
Yep.
if you didn't do your, I guess, due diligence and file or look for the right stuff, you won't know until after you lose all this money.
Absolutely. Because, guys, even with land deals, you still have to put down due diligence. And remember, that is a non-refundable deposit that in North Carolina goes directly to the seller. So if there is any kind of question of whether or not that person should be holding those funds, you might want to actually put it in the earnest deposit section where it's held in a trust account, whether it's with a firm or an attorney. And they can actually hold due diligence in those accounts as well. It's just a special addendum that you have to attach. So you always want to trust but verify when it comes to these things.
Yes. And, all these new subdivisions you see now, these actually were these 100-acre lots that family owned that they did do subdivisions and they did subdivide it and everything filed correctly. And that's what a big actually driving force of North Carolina is right now, and why a survey, a surveyor actually does come in there and plots all that out. So that's a good thing. But like I said, North Carolina, you don't need a survey to close, and that's why you don't find these issues.
Well, and so let's talk about how you guys do things a little differently then. So typically a contract period here in North Carolina is about 30 days. So let's talk about when they should be ordering the survey and when they should be receiving that survey and who's looking at it with them.
Yes. So usually, I guess you'd be the first person that encounters the potential buyer.
Yeah.
Obviously being straightforward with them, and then any knowledge you have on the property, let them know that, listen, if you're really interested in this, you're going to put an offer, let's start right away.
Yep.
That's first and foremost, because I believe that survey should be done weeks before closing, because if there are any issues, hey, let's get rid of them or take care of them now, because not everything is a deal breaker.
Yeah.
A fence having to be moved, no problem. Things that I want to build in the future, okay, that can be a deal breaker. Okay, you're not going to settle on your forever home.
Yeah.
And change plans. There's plenty of houses out there, but definitely I would say a few weeks before you have a solid closing date, you'd want that survey ordered, and we'd have it back to you in about 8 to 10 days time, which is very fast. I know right now a lot of survey companies, they're out weeks and months, which kudos, that's great. What I mean? The survey is thriving in the industry. I love it. But we, know that it's a time essential business, and we want to, get that to you and, let you know what's going on if there is anything, any problems that will pop up.
Oh, yeah. So 100%. So, guys, you have to remember the part of the process he's talking about is not the due diligence deposit, but it's the due diligence window. Essentially, that's your time to be doing inspections, getting your appraisal back, anything that's going to cause you to change your mind about that property. Because in North Carolina, you can walk away for any or no reason at all. But typically, if there's an issue on the survey, your closing attorney or your surveyor can read that with you and help kind of explain all of the different things. I will say that the product you guys produce is very user-friendly. It's easy to understand. That even if you didn't do real estate every single day, you would still be able to understand what you're looking at for the most part. But if there was a question on how you can handle it and how it's going to work with your contract, that's why it's really important to have local vendors that like and trust, like your surveyor and your closing attorney, that can help you kind of work through that. So let's talk about the fact that a lot of people, it costs, right? So they have to pay that cost out.
Yeah.
But the cost further down the line, when you realize that there's an issue, could be far greater than the cost up front when you are paying for quite a few other things. Also, if they're thinking about putting in a fence, that's something you're going to require.
It might need,
a fence company, might require in the process.
Of course, yeah, because that's if that fence gets put in the wrong spot and they didn't have, the surveyor markers or the property corners to go based off of. And later on, I come in and I show you, hey, this fence isn't where it should be. That's on their liability. And, they're going to have to replace that and lose money.
So, what's your thought or opinion on fences that are joining? So, often there's a little bit of an easement that can run between two
Hmm.
different fence lines, but I see a lot of folks trying to cut some corners, pun intended, I guess, there, where they're really marrying up next to the
Yeah.
neighbor. So, clearly that fence, I mean, in a perfect world, it would be right on the line, but
Hmm.
let's be real, it's going to be on one or the other probably.
Yeah.
So, would you encourage people to probably still keep that separate?
Yeah. So it's one of those things where I understand just being a regular homeowner, not a
Mm-hmm.
surveyor, put
Yeah.
surveyor aside. I want every inch of what I'm paying for,
Yeah.
you know? But the rule of thumb is always keep it, say, 3 to 6 inches inside the line.
Got it.
For any reason, for the purpose of
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to have any issues. I know that in other states, you can't close on a home if anything is within a foot of encroachment.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, if you just go up against someone's fence and, say they are inside the line, and you come right up to it and there's no access around anywhere, that's going to be an issue on you.
Mm-hmm.
So I would always say a few inches inside the line. And, these marks are put here. These properties are divided
Mm-hmm.
for the purpose of, this homeowner, this homeowner, this homeowner.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would always say just stay inside the line a little bit.
So, guys, you have to remember North Carolina is an as-is purchase state. So that's kind of what he's referring to, where some states, there are certain hoops you have to jump through in order to close. North Carolina, you're buying it how it is. So what do you do in that scenario if you find out that John next door built his 1,000-gallon pool on your property? Well, the seller can ask him to dig it up and move it. That could be on them. Or you could take it where it's at and create that encroachment agreement,
Yeah.
or some other kind of, they buy that part of the land. There's a couple different ways you can play it out.
Yeah, but that agreement that I believe it's only between that owner and that purchaser. So if you go to sell the house, that agreement must be null and voided because it's between two different parties. So again, it's something that, say you do make that agreement and you want to sell the house now 15 years down the line, that pool's still there.
Mm-hmm.
That might be a deal breaker for other people, and it's kind of going to be your problem now.
So, and this falls into the whole material facts issue.
Mhm.
Things that are disclosed sometimes become less of an issue because they knew about it when they put in their contract and their offer. So it's really important on the listing side of things, guys. If you know about something, you need to disclose
Yeah.
it to your future buyers or try to resolve it before you go to market.
Yeah, because I understand. There are people that say aren't informed or don't inform their clients these things because they're scared of breaking their deal because
Yeah.
they have a family, they need to make money also. But having your client's best interest is always the best thing to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know that's something that you guys kind of pride yourself in is client care, but what else can somebody expect in working with you and your team?
All right. Well, client care, that's number one, always. And I really wish that every other vendor or anybody would understand that communication and client care is what's going to keep your business going. Especially in a world where Google reviews and word of mouth and the internet is such a vital part of growing business nowadays. That just take care of the people that keep you going every day, and that will bring you places and get you farther where you want to be. So communicative with our clients, making sure that everything we do is in their best interest. Abiding by what we say, our prices, our time frames, and just always keeping them in the loop. If there's anything that comes up that's going to hold up the process, let them know. Because what? You don't want the phone ringing, you're not answering, and now they're like, what is happening? We went with them, we trusted them, and they can't even just answer the phone and talk to me.
Yeah.
So that's just the biggest thing. Just be forward, be honest, and just keep your clients in the loop at all times.
Absolutely. So, guys, if you are building a home, if you are buying a home, if you're an agent who's looking to create a great partnership, or even a local builder who needs somebody to help stake things out and know where everything's actually lining up, Jason is a great contact. We'll actually put his information in the bottom portion of this episode in the description so that you can reach out to him by phone or email. And if you have any questions specifically for him, feel free to drop those in the comments, and be sure to follow us on our next episode of I'm Moving to North Carolina, now what? Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, y'all. Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to like, share, and follow us on Instagram as well as YouTube. We're also on Apple Podcasts. Again, I'm Laura Richardson with Relevate.